Bending curves. Mostly it's a matter of control and just practicing until you develop the skills to bend a curve evenly. But somebody had asked me about other tools that make bending curves a little bit easier, ways to help guarantee your results, so I thought we would take a look at some of those tools today. Welcome back to Black Bear Forge and the tool of the day. Today's tool of the day probably won't be about a specific tool, but a group of tools that can be used for bending. So the first one, of course, is the hammer and the anvil, and it's just a matter of controlled forging to bend a very even curve. It helps if you have an even heat, and it helps if you don't hit twice in the same spot because that creates kinks, and it also helps if you have even thicknesses of material, or if it's a tapered piece of material like a scroll, that the taper is even. If there's fat spots and thin spots, it's going to bend differently in those spots. And that's real critical for getting good even curves, is to have even tapers or even thicknesses along with that even heat. One type of tool that can be used for getting controlled bends, and you can see just exactly what you're doing, are bending forks. These are usually used in pairs, a top fork and a bottom fork. You can tighten up various bends. If you've overbent, you can straighten a bend out if you need to. So I can come back and I can straighten out a section. Right now my forge is kind of in the way, but you can see how these work. And bending forks tend to work pretty well on cold material that isn't very thick. So you can use that for doing some cold bending. Bending forks can be used in the vise. They are very useful for doing curves that are not even, because you can compare them to a pattern or even work right on top of your full-size drawing if you're working cold. But you have to be in control and really pay attention to what you're doing. It's easy to get things not quite straight, but again, the bending forks give you the ability to take out some of the little kinks if you get them in there. And we have previously looked at making both bottom bending forks and top bending forks. So there are videos on that, and I will try to link to those right up here in the corner, so you can go watch some of those videos if you want to see how to make bending forks. We've also looked previously at cone mandrels, which are very useful for making specific rounds that fit the mandrel. They're not very good for just general work, but they can be a substitute for an anvil horn if you don't have a horn. For specific sizes, you can weld up a simple bending jig like this and work around it, and either the tab here like this one has, or you can actually use a bending fork to hold the piece tight in there, and you don't need all the other stuff. And that can make a very exact circle if you need repetitive pieces. And of course you can make those in any size you want. And you can also just use a chunk of tubing locked in the vise as a bending jig, using the bending fork, and you don't have to weld it up. I keep several sizes of tube next to the vise, and they all nest one inside the other, so they're very easy to store if you're going to use them this way. And a fly press can be used for bending circles. By setting the check nut, you can get very precise circles doing it this way. And finally, there is a ring roller, which is has a little hydraulic jack to adjust the size, and you can roll a bar through here, and as you roll, it makes a very precise circle. You get to the end, you can raise the jack a crank or two, and roll it back the other way. This is tending to spiral off, so you'll have to straighten it. I'm not even sure why I bought that ring roller in the first place. There was some special project, but I've used it so little it was probably not worth it. Makes perfect rings. You can make the same size ring over and over again simply by knowing what your adjustments are and cutting the same length bar and rolling it until it comes end to end. But I don't make rings like that very often. It's an item that I really don't use in my shop, so I don't recommend them unless you really know you're going to need it. Now, what do I recommend in your shop? As always, I recommend learning the skills to do it between hammer and anvil. You will always have those tools in your shop. You can make any size ring at any time that you need to. You don't need to go out and make special tools. You don't need to buy special tools. If you have the skills, you can do the job. If you are making lots of repetitive things, welding up some simple jigs to make the same ring over and over again because you need to make 100 of them starts to make more sense. If you're doing ornamental pieces that have scrolls and ovals and lots of different shapes and you need to work on the full-size drawing, bending forks are a great way to do that. A set of bending forks for the vise, the anvil, and handheld forks are really practical. And again, we've done videos on those and I've linked to those already earlier in this video. If you're bending really heavy material, the fly press is excellent for that. For bending that 1/4x1 flat stock I was using, that's serious overkill and isn't the best idea, but it'll bend 1-inch bar cold if you need to do that. So it is a very powerful tool in the right instance. In general though, like I say, stick with hammer and anvil, then add bending forks and specific jigs if you're doing enough of a given project that it warrants making those jigs. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you can give it a thumbs up. Love it if you hit that subscribe button. Stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends, but then make time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, use your imagination, develop some skills, but do it safely and wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.